Meet Samson, the strongest man who ever lived. But Samson wasn't just known for his incredible strength. He was a man with a purpose, chosen by God to deliver Israel from their enemies, the Philistines. His story is one of triumph, failure, redemption, and lessons we can all learn from. Samson's story began before he was even born. An angel appeared to his parents, telling them that their son would be special, chosen by God to begin delivering Israel from their enemies. From birth, Samson was set apart by a special vow called the Nazirite vow. This meant he couldn't drink wine, touch anything unclean, or cut his hair, because his strength came from his dedication to God. As Samson grew, his strength became legendary. He could do things no one else could: lift giant gates, fight off entire armies, and defeat wild animals with his bare hands. The Philistines ruled over Israel during Samson's time, and they were always trying to find ways to defeat him. But Samson, with God's strength, was always a step ahead, defeating them at every turn. Though Samson was incredibly strong, he had one major weakness. He was often attracted to Philistine women. His desire to marry a Philistine woman caused trouble from the start, leading to betrayal and conflict. At Samson's wedding, he challenged the Philistines with a riddle, but when they couldn't solve it, they pressured his wife to betray him and give them the answer, leading to anger and heartbreak. Furious at being betrayed, Samson exacted revenge on the Philistines by burning their fields with torches tied to the tails of foxes. This escalated the conflict between him and the Philistines. One night, the Philistines tried to trap Samson in the city of Gaza. But instead of being captured, Samson ripped the massive city gates from their hinges and carried them away to the top of a hill. Despite his victories, Samson's attraction to Philistine women led him into dangerous territory again, especially when he fell in love with a woman named Delilah. The Philistine rulers saw an opportunity in Delilah. They bribed her to discover the secret of Samson's strength. Time and again, she asked Samson about his power, but he misled her, until finally he gave in. After much persistence, Samson finally revealed his secret. His strength was tied to his long hair, a symbol of his vow to God. Delilah wasted no time in betraying him. While Samson slept, Delilah cut his hair, and his strength left him. When the Philistines came to capture him, Samson was powerless to resist. Samson was captured, blinded, and put in chains. The once mighty hero was now a prisoner, humiliated by his enemies. But his story wasn't over yet. While in prison, Samson's hair began to grow again, and with it, his faith and reliance on God. He knew that his strength came not from his hair, but from his relationship with God. The Philistines held a great celebration, mocking Samson and praising their false gods for delivering him into their hands. They brought Samson out to entertain them. In his final moments, Samson called out to God, asking for strength one last time to defeat the enemies of Israel. His faith had been restored, and he was ready to fulfill his mission. God answered Samson's prayer, and with one last burst of strength, Samson pushed down the pillars of the Philistine temple, collapsing the entire structure and defeating thousands of Philistines. Samson's life may have been marked by mistakes and failures, but in his final act, he redeemed himself by trusting in God. and fulfilling his mission to defeat the enemies of Israel. Samson's story teaches us that no matter how far we fall, God is always ready to give us strength when we turn to him. His life reminds us of the importance of humility, faith, and trusting God's purpose. As we reflect on the story of Samson, it's easy to be amazed by his great physical strength. But as strong as he was on the outside, Samson struggled on the inside. He battled with temptation, pride, and the desire to live life on his own terms. Time and time again, Samson made decisions that distanced him from God's will. But in the end, when he was at his lowest, blinded, captured, and powerless, Samson turned back to God, and it was in that moment of surrender that he found his true strength. How many of us are living like Samson? We rely on our own strength, thinking we can handle life on our own. We chase after our own desires and ignore the quiet voice of God calling us back to him. But just like Samson, we reach a point where our own strength isn't enough. That's when we need to turn back to God. Today, God is calling you to a place of repentance. No matter how far you've strayed, no matter how many times you've made mistakes, it's never too late to return to God. Samson's story shows us that even in our weakest moment, God's grace is still available. When we humble ourselves, admit that we can't do it alone, and ask God for his strength, he will restore us. This is your call to repentance. Lay down your pride, your burdens, your failures, and trust in God's strength. He is ready to forgive and give you a fresh start, just like he did for Samson. Produced by Anita Ayezi. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share.